when you're a kid and you kind of joke about becoming an Olympian in the same way you talk about becoming an astronaut or a firefighter, you're just like, oh yeah, that's like a fun job dream thing for a kid to have. And then to find myself in that position where it was actually a possibility for me was really crazy. And it felt like it would be robbing myself of an opportunity if I didn't go for it. As a young person, I was always very drawn to competitions in general. I remember wanting to do climbing competitions pretty much from the moment I found out that they were a thing. My earliest memories of wanting to climb were playing like old Tomb Raider games, and I think I just thought that climbing was like a cool movement, and obviously I had a very skewed idea of what it was. Asked my dad if I could give it a go, and he took me and my siblings down to the local gym, and I fell in love with it pretty instantly. The desire to qualify for the Olympics came into play a lot later, I think. It wasn't really until, I think in 2016, they announced that climbing would feature at Tokyo 2020. I think there's a lot of honor and prestige to becoming an Olympian that I think, really surmised, I guess, what I expect of myself as an athlete, to like pursue excellence and to pursue being the best, and trying to qualify for the Olympics felt like the natural progression of that, I guess. My mum telling us the day it happened that Dad had been in an accident and not really understanding what that was, and all of a sudden, our lives changing. The things that my dad was able to do, especially for the first, year where he's like mostly confined to a wheelchair, or for the first little while, he couldn't even get out of bed, and that was very strange to witness as a young kid. I guess it made me quite aware of how quickly things can change in life, and how quickly, I guess, these like basic capacities that you take for granted can be stripped from you. In a lot of ways, I think that made me quite like fearful of taking risks as a child, but also I think it motivates me to, again, to try to get the best out of myself, because I know that at any moment it can change. Got to kind of take life by the horns, I guess, and do your best to get the most out of it. I definitely noticed in ways that were different to my peers, how the world was and wasn't inclusive. Bathrooms, building access, just being able to go to the second floor of a climbing gym, perhaps, you notice these things when someone you love is, I guess, denied access just on the basis of how they navigate the world. Discovering about myself that I was queer, and not really seeing these really good examples, I guess, of like queer people living happy, fulfilling lives, and also like having access to things like sport. I had this preconceived idea that my life was going to be inherently lesser if I lived as an openly queer person. You definitely have people like who treat you differently, but I hadn't really had so many instances where people were so like open and forward in their disgust with regard to queer people. So that was quite a unique experience. I don't think prior to that post going live, I really knew the intensity with which people despise us. So that was quite confronting to kind of come to terms with. It's been difficult, and sometimes it's still difficult. People will say all sorts of things on the internet, but I guess you have to look at the positives of it as well. And I think seeing all that negativity also reminded me of how important it is. I didn't have those queer role models when I was young, but seeing that I could be that person for other people, it made it even more of a priority to be open and be proud, and to like not hold back, I guess. I was, working on the weekends and some weeknights and things, and it was just like saving, going a month without making any money at all, and then bringing in 2 months of income in like a couple of weeks, and then having another 2 months where you have nothing,
Come on, Campbell.
I guess I have a really high standard for what it is that I want to achieve in my career, and that doesn't come cheap or come for free. So I have to be motivated to sometimes, to go without or to put myself out there in ways that aren't necessarily comfortable. In a sport like climbing where it is now, I think that's kind of as important as the training itself. You have to be able to enable yourself to do the training. And sometimes that means, not being able to earn quite as much as you'd like, or stepping out in certain ways to be able to earn more money now so that you can train later, that sort of thing. I remember how important it was for my family, I guess, that I was able to be there with them before she started her treatment and before everything kind of changed and ultimately changed forever. But I very much remember being at the event or being in the hotel the morning of the final. We're sitting there, TV's on in the background, and all of a sudden the news comes up and tells us that the borders are closing and you have until midnight to be across the border or you're going to be stuck there, kind of thing, right before Christmas. And just crying and calling my parents and calling my not even my current coach, just a coach from when I was a kid, and just having absolutely no idea what it was that I was going to do, and ultimately made the decision to leave, which was tough. But it's a decision I made, so ultimately it's the one I had to live with, I guess. I knew I would get another chance. It's just, so much can change in the space of 3 to 4 years. And even if I was in the position to take the opportunity, everything has to go exactly perfect on the day. I can quit at any time when I choose not to. When you're going through chemo, when you're trying to fight against something like cancer, you can't really quit. And I saw how, desperately at times she wanted to be able to quit, and you just have to keep going. And it inspires me, and it's a good reminder to not take for granted the fact that this is a life that I'm choosing. I'm choosing to do this, so I'm gonna do it to the best that I can. I'm gonna do it right. No one's making me do this. I think I'd been burying a lot of feelings for a long time. Problems with my relationship with food and my body, some pretty severe sort of depression and things like that. And prior to the lockdowns, I was very much in this state where I thought, I'm an athlete. I don't have time to deal with these sorts of problems. I have to just keep pushing. It all felt like any sort of discrepancies in my mental health were just made up. And lockdown, as hard as it was, I think also really gave me the opportunity to take a step back and tackle these aspects of my mental health that I've been neglecting. So in some ways, it was a really good opportunity for me to step back and deal with my stuff. The year following the Tokyo qualifications ended up making this kind of wild choice, I guess, to get an exemption to leave Australia without the guarantee of being able to come back and take on the World Cup circuit again and get stuck back into it. And I went into it with such a different mindset than I had prior to Tokyo. It felt like this real obligation to my sponsors and to the team and to the opportunity that was going to the Olympics. And I was able to kind of put aside the difficult circumstances and really make the choice for myself. It was what I wanted to do, and that empowered my athletic journey in a very different way. When training feels hard, I can look back and be no, when push comes to shove, this is what I want. And it just gives you that extra little bit of fire, I guess, to go for it.
Welcome to the Oceania qualifier here in Melbourne.
The lead up was full on. I just didn't know if I was emotionally capable of handling that heartbreak again that I experienced in Tokyo, because I did want it so badly for myself. I'd felt it once and it hurt so much then, and I just felt like it would hurt so much more again the second time.
Campbell Harrison stepping out onto the mat.
All the time for preparation was over. There was no more that I could do to make myself any more prepared than I was, and I just had to tackle the opportunities as they came in the moment and kind of go move by move and boulder by boulder.
That we're going to see such a strong performance right in the beginning.
Right at the start, yes.
But he is one of our...
It was just this really stark reminder of what was on on the line, you know, any small, tiny mistake could ultimately be that like decimal point that put me out of, you know, the dream of going to the Olympics. And I remember just like sitting there with my partner in our apartment that night and saying to him, I just don't know if I can do this.
Here's Campbell. This is it for him. This is the Olympics.
This is Campbell. All right, back to the show. Back to the
hand.
It doesn't really matter on the day how you feel about it. You just, that's when it's happening. So if you want to seize that opportunity, you have to do it then and there, I guess.
The crowd loves it. The crowd knows it, folks.
Yeah, he's gonna. He's emptied the tank, and this is the
look at the
this
grid.
is it.
Oh!
I think this is it. We'll have to see, obviously, the scoreboard.
Incredible, Campbell. Look what it means to him. Look what it means to him. This gentleman is a machine.
We can feel that through the camera, folks.
It was the most intense, surreal surge of emotions that I've ever experienced in my life, and maybe will ever experience again in my life, I think.
Yeah, that's an incredible story in itself. Yeah, good on you, Campbell. Good on you, dude. What a hero.
I could look back to so many times over my sporting journey where the sort of like pressure of the moment unraveled me. And this was without a doubt the most high pressure event of my whole life. And I completely like focused in. Yeah, I'm for sure very proud of that specifically. In the immediate lead up to Paris and in Paris, I think I had to reflect upon the journey a lot to get me through. In the weeks leading to Paris, I was getting some of my worst results in a really long time. And I started to almost dread the Olympics, like it was something I wish I didn't have to do. And I had to catch myself in those moments, or in that moment, and like remind myself of everything that I'd sacrificed and everything that I put in and how much it meant to me to be there. This moment on day 2 after my lead final, where I just sort of stood on the stage and looked out into the crowd and just like took it all in. And that's like a really special highlight of the Paris experience, standing there in front of the crowd and reflecting on everything that led to that moment. First and foremost, I guess it's just very important for me to be authentic in how I present myself. I never will profess to be the perfect role model or the perfect like example, but I hope that people will be able to see like aspects of who I am and my flaws, and I guess if they can find inspiration in that to pursue their own dreams or to be open about who they are or whatever it might be, you know, that's really special to me. And it's hard to like go out and strive to inspire people, and that's probably not necessarily my mindset. But at the same time, I guess, yeah, I do my best to present my journey and my experiences authentically, and I think that in itself can be empowering.